Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be diving in again.
So our mission, it's pretty straightforward. We take a bunch of sources, or like today, just one specific thing.
And we really unpack it for you,
Exactly. We're not just, scratching the surface. We go deep.
pulling out the most interesting facts, the
Yeah.
important stuff.
And today, yeah, it's a bit different. We're zeroing in on just one publication from 2011.
The April 2011 issue of Awake magazine.
Right. And what's kind of wild is just how much stuff is packed into this one issue. It's quite the range.
It really is. You wouldn't necessarily expect it. We're talking grief, ancient history,
Yeah, Roman history, then suddenly, like, unique animal abilities.
personal challenges, even questions about God, all in one place.
It's quite the journey.
And the value in doing this, for you listening, is seeing how, well, just digging into one source, even one you might not normally pick up, can show you some surprising connections, maybe insights you'd miss otherwise.
Right. And we'll explore the different viewpoints in the source itself.
Exactly. And like always, we'll stay neutral, just reporting what the source actually says, especially on, any sensitive topics.
Absolutely. Our goal is just to pull out those nuggets of knowledge for you. Make maybe complex or unfamiliar ideas clear, engaging.
Kind of a shortcut to being well-informed, tailored for you.
Okay, so let's get into this source. Where do we start?
Well, the source itself starts with something pretty heavy, emotionally resonant.
Ah, right. The article on coping with grief, losing someone. It's devastating.
And the source really doesn't shy away from that. It opens with this really poignant story about Isabel.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading that. She lost her little girl, Nicole, who was just 3.
The details are just heartbreaking. Started with a headache, then this sudden overwhelming infection.
And within 48 hours, she was gone, just like that.
Isabel's words, they really stick with you. I miss her hugs, her smell, her tenderness.
I miss the way she would give me a flower every day. Nicole is always in my thoughts. Wow.
Yeah, it captures that raw pain so effectively. And the source points out, because death is so hard to talk about.
We use euphemisms.
Exactly, which can sometimes make it harder, not easier.
Hmm.
A really key insight the source brings out is just how differently people grieve. There's no one way.
Right. Not everyone shows it outwardly, maybe?
Precisely. And problems can pop up if people feel they have to put on a brave face for others.
Like the examples they gave. Nathaniel.
Yeah, Nathaniel. He was 24, his mom died, and he felt he couldn't grieve because he had to be strong for his dad.
And Heloisa, the doctor. Same thing, feeling she had to be strong for her community.
That pressure.
And loneliness. That's a huge part of it, too, isn't it? The source mentioned Ashley.
Right, Ashley was 19 when her mother died. Felt completely lost, alone. The house felt empty.
She'd hide in her room to cry. It sounds awful.
But the source gives this direct assurance, to the reader, you are not alone in your grief.
That's important here.
From there, it moves into, practical advice, based on its perspective.
Okay, like what?
One of the main things is simply let yourself grieve.
Don't bottle it up.
Exactly. It uses Heloisa's story again. She found that suppressing her feelings actually hurt her health.
The advice was pretty blunt, wasn't it? Get it out of your system.
It was. And it stresses there's no correct way and definitely no deadline.
Yeah, I liked that part. It mentioned Cecilia feeling bad she wasn't over it yet after losing her husband.
Right. And contrast that with the Bible story of Jacob, who it says refused comfort after thinking his son Joseph was dead.
So just feel what you feel, basically.
Very much.
Yeah.
And also a strong warning against making big, hasty decisions while you're grieving.
Like moving house or jumping into a new relationship.
Yeah, stuff like that. Give yourself time.
And taking care of yourself physically, that was in there too.
Crucial point. Grief hits hard, physically and emotionally.
So getting rest, trying to eat well.
Even small amounts of nutritious food, yeah. And exercise, like walking. It mentions endorphins.
Good advice. And it's specifically warned against alcohol right now.
Yes, very clearly. Said the effects are temporary and it can lead to addiction.
Okay. What about getting help from others?
Vital, according to the source. Especially if, say, a spouse used to handle things like the finances or chores.
Suddenly you have to figure all that out alone.
Right. It quotes Proverbs about tactful friends being helpful.
And that other one, a true friend is born for when there is distress.
Exactly. The core message is, don't isolate yourself. It shares Sally's experience.
Oh, yeah. She found being around people helped. And talking about her mom.
Helped her heal, yeah. Connection is key.
Okay, what about guilt? That's a tough one.
Definitely. The article addresses it directly. Says it's a normal reaction, whether it's, based on something real or just imagined.
Feeling like you neglected someone, maybe?
Things like that. Talking about it helps, the source suggests, but it also offers perspective.
Like what?
Like quoting Ecclesiastes 9.11 about time and unforeseen occurrence. Basically, you can't control everything. And it gives that example of the mother whose daughter had an accident after being sent on an errand. Her motives weren't bad.
Right. Trying to accept our imperfections. It mentioned James 3.2. We all stumble many times.
And Romans 5.12 about inherited imperfection. Dwelling on if onlys, it says, just hinders recovery.
Makes sense. What about remembering the person? Is that okay?
Absolutely encouraged. Look at photos, recall happy times. It might hurt at first, the source admits.
But it can help you heal eventually.
Yeah. Keeping a journal is another suggestion. Writing down memories or even things you wish you'd said.
Gives perspective, maybe. A healthy outlet.
Exactly. And mementos, keeping their things. The source says that's totally personal.
Like Sally kept her mom's things.
Right. And it advises friends and family not to impose their views on that, citing Galatians. It's individual.
Gotcha. Was there anything else in that section on grief?
A major point was reliance on what the source calls the God of all comfort.
Okay, so faith as a support?
Yes. Prayer is presented as real communication with God, quoting 2 Corinthians about God comforting us in all our tribulation,
And the Bible itself.
called the greatest comfort, specifically the hope of a resurrection, mentioning Acts 24.15.
It shared Lauren's experience, right? Finding comfort in Bible verses after her brother died.
Yes, like Jesus' words to Martha about Lazarus, your brother will rise, from John chapter 11.
So the overall message about moving on?
It's that working through grief helps you move forward, and that's not betraying the person you lost.
You won't forget them.
Never. Memories return, but the intense pain eases. Bittersweet memories become possible, like Ashley remembering her mom's smile.
Or learning from them, like Sally seeing her mom as a teacher.
Or living how they taught you, like Alex after his dad died.
Yeah.
You don't totally get over it, the source acknowledges.
But you don't let it dominate your life. You make the best of what's ahead.
A really comprehensive look at a difficult subject.
It really is. And then, like you said, the source just pivots completely.
Right. From that deep emotional stuff to marine biology.
The sandcastle worm. This was fascinating. It starts with a problem surgeon's face, yeah.
Fixing tiny bone fragments. Pins and plates are often too big, too cumbersome.
So they needed some kind of glue.
A super strong adhesive that works underwater. Inside the body, essentially.
Which is tricky. And nature has the answer.
Apparently so. The sandcastle worm. It builds this little house underwater from sand and shells.
Using a special glue it makes.
Exactly, from a gland. And what's amazing, according to source,
it hardens underwater. And quickly.
we got it. Unique proteins make it happen. The source quotes a researcher, Russell Stewart.
Calling the worm a master mason.
Yeah. Saying it solved these complicated adhesion problems that humans are still struggling with.
So, potential medical breakthroughs.
Definitely. Researchers have made synthetic versions, some even stronger.
Wow.
The next hurdle for bone repair is making it biodegradable.
So it just dissolves as the bone heals? No need for another surgery to remove it?
That's the idea. Pretty ingenious.
And the source leaves you with that question.
Right. Did this amazing glue just happen by chance? Or was it designed? Makes you think.
It really does. Okay. From tiny worms to giant empires.
Exactly. Next up in this single issue, Rome in Bible history.
So shifting to ancient history and how it connects with religious texts.
The core idea presented here is that secular history actually backs up a lot of details found in the Bible's accounts of the Roman era.
Suggesting a level of historical accuracy you might not expect.
Right. It mentions things you can still see today, like Roman roads, aqueducts.
The Appian Way, Paul might have walked on that.
That's what the source suggests, yeah. A tangible link. Then it gets specific about people mentioned in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 3.
Setting the scene for John the Baptist and Jesus, who did it name?
Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate, Herod Antipas.
And these guys are known from regular history books, too.
Oh, yeah. The source points out they're confirmed by historians like Tacitus and Josephus.
Gives details, too, right? Like Tiberius becoming emperor in 14 CE.
And Tacitus mentioning Pilate executing Christus.
And Herod Antipas building Tiberius and likely beheading John the Baptist there.
Using these connections to support the Bible's historical footing.
Were there other examples?
Several. The census under Caesar Augustus, mentioned in Luke 2, it notes Quirinius was governor of Syria.
And historians mention him too.
Tacitus and Josephus, yes. The source even says proof of such Roman censuses exists, like an edict in the British Library.
Wow. What else?
A big famine under Emperor Claudius, mentioned in the book of Acts. Josephus wrote about that famine too.
Okay.
Claudius ordering Jews out of Rome, also in Acts.
Supported by the Roman historian Suetonius, who mentioned disturbances over Christus.
Likely meaning Christ, yeah. And finally, the death of Herod Agrippa.
Oh, the story in Acts where he gives a speech in silver clothes and gets eaten up with worms.
That's the one. And the source says Josephus confirms it, adding details about the silver garment and a 5-day illness before he died.
So lots of points where the Bible account and secular history seem to line up for that period.
That's the argument the source makes, yes. Using these overlaps to build a case for reliability.
Then it shifts from historical corroboration to prophecy, right?
Yeah, it does. Specifically, Jesus' prophecy about Jerusalem being destroyed.
The quote about not leave a stone upon a stone.
Exactly. And his warning to flee when they saw Jerusalem surrounded by encamped armies from Luke 21.
So how does the source say that played out?
Describes events starting in 66 CE. Roman governor takes temple money, Jewish rebels fight back, kill Romans, declare independence.
Then the governor of Syria, Cestius Gallus, attacks Jerusalem.
With 30,000 troops.
Yeah.
Even starts undermining the temple wall. But then...
He just leaves. For no apparent reason, the source says.
And the Jewish forces attack his retreating army.
And the Christians saw this as the signal.
According to the source, yes. Faithful Christians remembered Jesus' warning and used that unexpected withdrawal to flee.
Many went to Pella, a neutral city.
The Gentile city across the Jordan, yeah. Seen as a safe haven.
But the Romans came back.
They did. In 70 CE, led by Vespasian and his son Titus, with 60,000 soldiers this time.
And they arrived right before Passover, trapping lots of people inside.
Exactly.
Too.
Residents and pilgrims. Then they built that wall of pointed stakes Jesus foretold.
Grim. And after 5 months...
the city fell. The source notes Titus wanted to save the temple.
But a soldier burned it anyway.
Yes. And eventually it was torn down, stone by stone, precisely fulfilling the prophecy as the source presents it.
The casualties mentioned were huge.
Staggering. 1.1 million Jews and proselytes dead, mostly from starvation and disease. 97,000 taken prisoner.
And the Arch of Titus in Rome commemorates this.
The source points to it as physical evidence of the conquest, reinforcing its claim that the Bible's prophecy was trustworthy in every detail.
It's a detailed historical argument presented there.
Definitely. And just briefly, the source also touches on a sequence of world powers mentioned in the Bible.
Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Middle Persia, Greece, Rome.
Right, Rome being the power that is in the Apostle John's day, according to Revelation.
And then one more future power to come for a short time.
That's the sequence described in the source, yeah. Presented as part of that prophetic history.
Wow. Okay, so from Roman history and prophecy, we need another gear shift. Where does the source go next?
Well, almost as a side note, another quick Watching the World piece mentioned those gold vending machines.
Oh, yeah. In Abu Dhabi, dispensing actual gold bars and coins.
Right. Prices updated every 10 minutes via computer. Just a random, interesting factoid dropped in there.
Shows the range again. Okay, but the next main topic.
Back to big questions this time. Is God omnipresent?
Meaning, is he literally everywhere at the same time, a common belief?
Right. But the source argues against literal omnipresence based on its interpretation of the Bible.
How does it make that case?
It starts with King Solomon's prayer in 1 Kings 8, where he refers to God having his established place of dwelling in the heavens.
So a specific location, not just everywhere.
That's the interpretation.
Yeah.
Not physical space like ours, but a distinct spirit realm that existed before the universe.
And it mentions that vision John had in Revelation.
Yes, what it calls a stunning vision of God's dwelling. A throne, imagery like jasper, ruby, an emerald rainbow.
Lightnings, thunders, a glassy sea like crystal. Sounds impressive.
The source interprets all that imagery. Beauty, serenity, peace from the rainbow, power from the lightning, purity from the sea, perfect order.
So the takeaway is, a specific, magnificent dwelling place implies he isn't everywhere else simultaneously.
That's the logic presented. So if he's not literally everywhere, how does he know everything?
Good question. What's the source's answer?
2 main ways. First, through his Holy Spirit, his active force. It cites Psalm 139.
Uses that analogy of the sun, right? The sun's in one place, but its energy reaches everywhere.
Exactly. God has a dwelling, but his spirit can perceive and act anywhere. His eyes are roving about through all the earth, quoting 2 Chronicles.
Okay, makes sense within that framework. What's the second way?
Through angels, his organization of spirit creatures.
It mentions huge numbers, right? Myriads of myriads. Billions, potentially?
Yes. Citing Daniel and Revelation, these angels act as messengers, representatives.
Coming to Earth, talking to people, reporting back.
That's the idea. It gives the example of the angels checking out Sodom and Gomorrah before God acted, from Genesis.
So the conclusion is God doesn't need to be physically everywhere.
Correct. Through his spirit and angels, he's fully aware and can act anywhere. The source suggests this helps us get to know the Creator better.
Understanding his dwelling, the beings with him, that environment of peace and power.
And it ends that section linking it back to earth, mentioning the hope from Matthew 6 that peaceful conditions like those in heaven will eventually come here.
Interesting perspective. And just before we move on, didn't that watching the world section also have that traffic stat?
Oh yeah. Stark number, 1.6 million U.S. crashes a year.
28% of all crashes.
Caused by drivers using cell phones or texting. A National Safety Council estimate reported in the source. A modern-day warning tucked in there.
Definitely sobering. Okay, from the spirit realm and traffic stats, back down to earth again. A very relatable challenge.
Yes, especially for younger people, but really for anyone. That feeling of not belonging, asking, where do I fit in?
The source really captures that feeling. Michaela saying she felt like someone in the background.
And Helena crying after meetings because she struggled to connect. Even had that little survey about challenging groups and how people react.
Was like pretending, ignoring people, or just isolating yourself.
Right, and the source identifies 2 main dead-ends approaches that don't work.
What's the first one?
Isolation, just retreating.
Yeah.
It quotes Proverbs 18.1 about isolating yourself being against practical wisdom.
Calls it a vicious circle, right?
Yeah.
Loneliness makes you withdraw, which makes you feel more lonely.
Exactly. And it quotes Melinda saying, people aren't mind readers. Friendship takes effort from both sides.
Makes sense. What's the second dead end?
Desperation. Trying so hard to fit in that you fall in with the wrong crowd.
It mentioned Renee wanting to get in trouble just to be accepted.
Yeah. The source warns against that, quoting Proverbs 13.20. Having dealings with the stupid ones will fare badly.
Explaining that stupid or foolish here means ignoring good standards, not just being unintelligent.
Right. Don't be a chameleon, basically. Cites 1 Corinthians 15.33 about bad associations.
Paula's quote was good there. Want friends who love you for who you are, not make you change.
Exactly. So if those are the dead ends, what's the constructive advice?
The source suggests take the initiative.
Can't just wait for others, like Jean said. You have to make an effort.
And a key suggestion was looking beyond your own age group.
Using that Bible example of Jonathan and David. Big age gap, maybe 30 years, but became best friends.
Don't limit yourself. Helena's mom told her to talk to older people in the congregation.
And she found she had lots in common and made friends. Good advice.
Developing conversation skills was another point, especially if you're shy.
Takes effort, yeah. The tips were simple, but good. Listen.
Like Serena said, ask questions.
Like Jared asking for explanations. And showed genuine concern.
Leah's quote summed it up. She's shy but pushes herself. To make friends, you have to be friendly.
Solid, practical advice.
Really is. And finally, just to show the absolute breadth of this one issue, there was that article on Arabian horses.
Oh, yeah. Didn't expect that one. Talking about their beauty, the breeding tradition in Poland.
Jano Podlaski, Count Ryzewski. It went into some detail.
And even about their care feeding, grooming.
And how much the horses themselves value human company and touch. A surprising level of detail on horse care.
It really rounds out the picture of just how diverse this single 2011 publication was.
Wow. Okay, that really was a deep dive. From one magazine, we went from, profound grief.
To historical checks on ancient Rome.
To that amazing sandcastle worm glue.
Discussions about God's nature based on the Bible.
Practical social skills advice.
And then these surprising little nuggets like gold vending machines, traffic stats, Arabian horse breeding.
It's kind of incredible, all packed in there.
It really shows the value, doesn't it? Taking time to look closely at whatever source material you come across.
You never know what you'll find. Surprising facts, useful advice, different perspectives.
All potentially in one place. We've tried to pull out some key insights from this particular source for you.
Yeah, our goal is always that shortcut, right? Helping you get informed, highlighting the interesting bits, the why it matters or why it's surprising.
We certainly hope this deep dive is giving you plenty to think about.
Definitely. So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe mull over, kind of building on all this.
Okay.
Considering just how much diverse information and different perspectives we found crammed into this one source from 2011, how might paying closer attention to the specific details, the nuances in the wide range of information you encounter every day, how might that sharpen your understanding of the world around you?